we are in the first section, that is committees of the Constituent Assembly. So the complex task of framing the constitution for India was divided into several sections or several segments, and each segment was accorded to a particular committee. So there were the establishment or the formation of several committees within the Constituent Assembly, and each committee was given a particular task. For example, the framing or the drafting of fundamental rights were given to a particular committee. The drafting of the DPSPs was given to some other committee. The administration of the scheduled areas was given to some other committee. The union powers, the division of the powers between the union and states was given to some other committee. Like such, the complex task of all these provisions were divided into smaller parts, and each part was assigned to a particular committee. So there are major committees and minor committees that we are going to look into it, right? So what happened here is, whatever the committees that was established within the Constituent Assembly, they actually prepared a set of recommendations. So whatever the tasks that were given to a particular committee, it actually delved into that. So by studying the constitutions across the world, it actually prepared a set of recommendations which were suitable for Indian political setup. So whatever the Indian conditions are there, so the particular committee has made some recommendations. For example, if you say in the sphere of fundamental rights, a particular committee was there. So that committee actually studied American Bill of Rights. So the fundamental rights in India were inspired from American Bill of Rights. So it studied the American Bill of Rights and adopted a similar kind of rights in India, but they have to suit to India's conditions. So in such a way that the particular committee has made several recommendations in that particular segment. So all the recommendations of all the committees were taken up by the constitutional advisor, who is nothing but Sir B.N. Rao. Sir B.N. Rao, he has taken up all the recommendations from all the major and minor committees, and he has prepared a draft text. So when the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly, was formed on 29th August 1947. After India got independence, the drafting committee of the Constitution was formed, and it actually worked on the draft text which was prepared by Sir B.N. Rao. So here, to effectively draft India's constitution, the Constituent Assembly formed several specialized committees to handle different aspects of the constitution making. Like I have said, each segment of activity, for example, fundamental rights, DPSPs, union powers, the states committee, rules committee, there are certain committees which we are going to look into. So these committees were formed, and each committee was given a specialized task. So each committee has recommended something. All the recommendations are taken up by Sir B.N. Rao. He prepared a draft text. Later, after the formation of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly, that particular drafting committee worked on the draft text prepared by Sir B.N. Rao. These committees, classified as major and minor committees, played a crucial role in shaping the governance framework of independent India. So the major committees are 8 in number. They are 8 in number, right? So here, committees led by Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru led 3 such committees, 3 such major committees, whereas Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel led 2 such committees. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar led 1 such committee, whereas Dr. Rajendra Prasad led 2 such committees. Dr. Rajendra Prasad led 2 major committees. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar led 1 committee. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was the president for 2 such major committees, whereas Jawaharlal Nehru was president of 3 major committees. 3 plus 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in total, there are 8 major committees, right? So we are going to look into all these 8 major committees. So first, the committees led by Jawaharlal Nehru. So Jawaharlal Nehru led 3 different committees. One is Union Powers Committee. Second thing is Union Constitution Committee. Third thing is States Committee. Right. Here, Union Powers Committee, under the presidentship of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So this committee was tasked with the division of powers between the union and the states. So yesterday, while discussing the objectives resolution, I think under the 3rd principle, we have discussed that although the British political setup was unitary in nature, India is not going to adopt the similar kind of political setup. So in India, there will be clear separation of powers between the union and the states. So it is a form of federalism, but in true sense, it is not a federalism, because in India, to maintain the integrity and unity of the Indian Union, we need to have certain unitary principles also. So the Indian political setup is a blend of federalism and unitary. Both systems principles were adopted by the Indian Constitution. So in normal circumstances, there will be a division of powers, but under extraordinary situations such as emergencies, political emergencies or wartime kind of situations, there will be the political system automatically transforms to unitary type of system. So under normal circumstances, federalism kind of situation is there. Federalism kind of political system will prevail in India. But whenever there is a war type situation or emergency kind of situations, the political system will automatically transform to unitary type of system. So it is the unique feature that the Indian Constitution having. So Indian Constitution is a blend of both the features, federalism and unitary. Both the systems features were there in Indian Constitution, Indian political system. So we are going to look into this under Unit 3, salient features of the Indian Constitution. There we are going to delve into what are the federalism features that Indian Constitution containing, what are the unitary type of features that the Indian Constitution is containing. So for the time being, here the Union Powers Committee under the presidentship of Jawaharlal Nehru tasked with the division of powers between the Union and the states. Division of powers between the Union and the states. Got my point? Here, whatever the task that was given to this particular committee, it actually recommended certain things, and under the auspices of the drafting committee, whatever the recommendations that were made by this particular committee transformed into present day articles 245, 246, 7th schedule, such as union list, states list, concurrent list, right? So all these things which were actually there in the present day constitution were actually the recommendations of the Union Powers Committee. Whatever the recommendations that the Union Powers Committee was made, they were debated. There were several amendments that were put forth in the Constituent Assembly, and the final articulation of the division of powers between the Union and the states reflected articles 246, 245, 246, 7th schedule, which actually divided the legislative subjects into 3 lists: Union list, states list, and concurrent list. So the Union Powers Committee under the chairmanship or under the presidentship of Jawaharlal Nehru, it was tasked with the division of powers between the Union and the states. So whatever the 7th schedule, so this type of the 7th schedule division of legislative subjects into 3 lists was adopted from Government of India Act of 1935. So we are going to have a separate discussion on the foreign sources. Under Unit 3, there are 2 such important topics that we are going to deal with. One is foreign sources. Second thing is salient features of the Indian Constitution. Both are important, right? So there we are going to discuss the salient, whatever the provisions that were adopted from different types of constitutions, right? American Constitution, Soviet Constitution, Irish Constitution, German Constitution, South African Constitution. So we are going to look into that, right? So the Union Powers Committee, we have seen that the task was this, and whatever the recommendations that were given by this committee, they were debated. Several amendments were put forth in the Constituent Assembly, and the final, as the final step, these were there in the present day Constitution. So whatever the division of powers between union and states under Article 245, 246, 7th schedule, and the financial relations also, all these were emerged from the recommendations of the Union Powers Committee. Right. So next thing is Union Constitution Committee. Right. So the second committee under the presidentship of Jawaharlal Nehru was Union Constitution Committee. This committee was tasked with to articulate the system of government at union level. Right. So the main purpose of this particular committee was to decide what type of government that is suitable for the Indian Union. there are two types of government that are most prevalent across the world. One is the presidential system of government, like we have seen in the USA. Another thing is the parliamentary system of government, that is we are having today. So under the parliamentary system of government, there will be two heads. One is the constitutional head and the other is the real head, right? Constitutional head and the head of the government. Constitutional head is the president of India and head of the government is the prime minister. So there are two functionaries are there, right? The constitutional head was a nominal head. So the real powers were enjoyed by the council of ministers headed by the prime minister. So this is the form of parliamentary system of government. So this committee actually recommended for parliamentary system of government. So the committee was tasked to find which type of government will be suitable for India. So the committee actually recommended, the major recommendation of the committee was the decision towards the parliamentary system of government. Because India was under the British rule, and Indian political system was based on the parliamentary system of government. So Indian political leaders were very much familiar with the system of government, parliamentary system of government, right? So they actually opted for parliamentary system of government because they are familiar with such type of government, familiar with such type of functioning of the government. So they adopted parliamentary system of government. And one of the major recommendations of the Union Constitution Committee was the adoption of the parliamentary system of government. Whatever the recommendations that were given by this particular committee were debated, several amendments were put forth, and there were serious debates that were there in the Constituent Assembly. And at the final stage, parliamentary system of government was adopted. Right? Whatever that we are having today, the political system was the parliamentary system of government. What are the features of the parliamentary system of government, and what are the features of the presidential system of government? We will be discussing that in volume 2. Right? In volume 2, we are going to encounter the systems of government. There we are going to delve into presidential system of government and parliamentary system of government. So now the third committee under Jawaharlal Nehru was States Committee. So the particular task of this particular committee, was to negotiate with the Indian princely states, and to make them represent, to send their representatives to the Constituent Assembly. So the purpose of this particular committee to negotiate with the Indian princely states, and make sure that the Indian princely states will send their representatives to the Constituent Assembly. In other words, to make the Indian princely states part and parcel of the constitution making. So by sending their representatives to the Constituent Assembly, that particular Indian princely state will become a part of the constitution making, right? So the task was given to States Committee under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru. So this committee has to negotiate with the Indian princely states, and to make sure that that particular Indian princely states must send their representatives to the Constituent Assembly. With this, the Indian princely states will be part and parcel of the constitution making. Because whenever Indian princely states send their representatives to the Constituent Assembly, there will be acceptance of the provisions of the Indian Constitution by those Indian princely states. So without representation from the Indian princely states, in future there will be non-acceptance of the provisions by some of the princely states. So to avoid such kind of situation, this particular committee was formed, and this was tasked with negotiation with the Indian princely states, and to making sure that all the Indian princely states will send their representatives to the Constituent Assembly and will make part of the constitution making, right? To negotiate with Indian princely states, right? So to negotiate with Indian princely states and to send their representatives to the Constituent Assembly and to become a part of the constitution making. This was the task of the States Committee. So with this, we have completed all the three committees under the purview of, under the leadership, under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru.